Did you know that Ukrainians don't believe in Santa Claus? It's true. Travel across Ukraine and you won't find a single jolly man in a red suit on December 24th. But hang on, it's not because Ukrainians don't believe in Christmas, because they absolutely do. It's because their gift giver isn't Santa at all. It's St. Nicholas, and he arrives on December 6th, not the 24th. Welcome to Ukraine Unfiltered, the channel where we explore the stories, traditions, and history that shape Ukraine and the world. In Ukraine, Christmas is about faith, tradition, and family, not presents under the tree. So what's the story behind St. Nicholas and how did Santa evolve from him? Let's break it down. Santa and St. Nicholas may seem similar, but their origins and the traditions around them are actually very different. Let's explore how one real historical figure became two very different holiday icons. To understand Santa Claus, we have to start with the real person he was based on. St. Nicholas of Myra was a real man who lived around the year 270 during the Roman Empire in a city called Myra, located in what is now Turkey. He was born into a wealthy Greek family, and when his parents died, he chose to use the money he inherited to help others. Over time, he became known for acts of secret generosity, especially towards children and family in need. Some of the most famous stories include secretly giving money to a struggling family by dropping small bags of gold through their window at night, one of which landed in a shoe by the fire, which is where the story of stockings by the fireplace originated. He was also known for saving children from danger, standing up for people who were treated unfairly, and because of his kindness, people began calling him Nicholas the Wonder Worker, protector of children, helper of the poor. St. Nicholas became one of the most beloved saints in Eastern Europe, including Ukraine, where his story has been told for more than 1,000 years. So how did this gentle bishop from the 3rd century turn into the Santa Claus picture in the West today? The transformation happened slowly over many centuries. As Christianity spread, stories of St. Nicholas traveled with it. Different countries adapted the traditions in their own way. In the Netherlands, St. Nicholas became Sinterklaas, a figure who visited children in early December and left small gifts. When Dutch families later moved to North America in the 1600s, they brought the Sinterklaas traditions with them. In English, Sinterklaas eventually became Santa Claus. In the 1800s in the United States, writers started creating poems and stories about Santa Claus. The most influential was A Visit from St. Nicholas, better known today as 'Twas the Night Before Christmas. This poem introduced ideas like Santa arriving on Christmas Eve, a sleigh pulled by reindeer, climbing down chimneys. By the 1900s, artists started drawing Santa as a big jolly man with a bright red suit. Companies like Coca-Cola helped make this image famous worldwide. So the Santa Claus we know today is a combination of the real St. Nicholas, the Dutch Sinterklaas, American creative storytelling, and modern advertising. Meanwhile, Ukraine held on to traditions that stayed much closer to the original St. Nicholas. In Ukraine, St. Nicholas is known as Sviatyi Mykolai. He remains a spiritual figure rather than a magical one, and he is celebrated on December 6th, his feast day. What's that? Well, a Ukrainian saint's feast day is the day of the church calendar when Ukrainians honor and celebrate a particular saint, usually the date of that saint's death, which is considered their heavenly birthday. Each saint has a special day dedicated to remembering their life, virtues, and miracles. It's a mix of spiritual reflection, cultural customs, and sometimes community celebration. Feast days are important because saints play a big role in Ukrainian culture. Many families have icons of their patron saint hanging in their homes, name their children after saints, and celebrate the feast day almost like a second birthday, called imeniny, which is name day. So what happens on a feast day? Well, depending on the saint, people might go to church, light candles or pray before an icon, teach children about the saint's life, celebrate the name days of family or friends, or take part in local traditions connected to that saint. In the case of St. Nicholas, Ukrainian traditions focus on the values he represented in real life. The first one being kindness. Nicholas rewarded children who have tried their best to behave, study, and help others. They also celebrate his quiet generosity. Gifts are placed secretly, usually under a pillow or boot, or in a special pouch. They also practice humility. The gifts are small, something like candy, fruit, cookies, or a simple toy, because the day is about meaning, not quantity. They also practice helping those in need. Many Ukrainian families and churches organize donations for children who were ill, orphaned, or affected by war. The spirit of St. Nicholas in Ukraine is about compassion and responsibility, living out the values he taught. So let's break down the differences. Santa Claus is a modern invention. He's a big, round figure with a red coat and hat. He comes on Christmas Eve and travels with reindeer. St. Nicholas, or Sviatyi Mykolai in Ukrainian, is based on a real historical bishop. He wears long religious robes, carries a bishop's staff, speaks gently and calmly, visits children in the beginning of December, and focuses on faith, kindness, and helping others. This is why in Ukraine, St. Nicholas is seen as a guide and protector, not just a holiday character, so to speak. St. Nicholas Day is a much-loved celebration in Ukraine, especially for children. Here's how many families observe it. Number 1. Preparing for St. Nicholas's visit. Children clean their rooms, behave their best, and sometimes write letters telling St. Nicholas what they hope for the future. Now you may be thinking, well, this sounds an awful lot like letters to Santa, so what's the difference? Well, there is a difference, because when reading children's letters to St. Nicholas, you won't find an extravagant list of toys or extensive electronics. Instead, you'll read things like, "I wish for peace, love, new mittens, a blanket for my sister," things like that. The concept of St. Nicholas is not about greed, but simple, modest wishes and spreading kindness. Number 2, the gifts under the pillow. During the night of December 5th, St. Nicholas places small gifts for children to find the next morning, usually something small like candies or treats. Number 3, school and community celebrations. Many schools hold concerts or plays called Mykolaiivki, where St. Nicholas appears on stage and encourages children to be kind and hardworking. Though this may sound very similar to modern-day Christmas concerts, they are not the same, as these concerts are specifically about St. Nicholas. Christmas traditions and concerts take place a few weeks later. And number 4, probably the most important, and that is encouraging people to help others. Families often donate gifts or food to children who need support, honoring St. Nicholas's tradition of caring for the vulnerable. Even during difficult years, including the times of war, Ukrainians make sure children experience the warmth and hope of this day no matter where they are. Although both Santa and St. Nicholas bring joy during the holidays, St. Nicholas connects us to a deeper history and reminds us that one person's kindness can inspire traditions for over 1,000 years. Thank you for watching Ukraine Unfiltered. If you enjoyed learning about the real story behind Santa Claus and St. Nicholas, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and share it with others who will love to enjoy the history and culture. And let us know in the comments which gift from St. Nicholas or Santa you remember the most as a child. See you in the next episode, and remember the reason for the season. Even small acts of kindness can make a big difference.